Hi everyone, this is week 26 of Matthew's Movie Mentions. So we are now doing the films that I watched up until the 2nd of July. I ran a poll on social media a little while back about whether I should watch classic, in inverted commas, movies that I hadn't seen, but that I wasn't sure I was going to enjoy. So films like Sound of Music, Singing in the Rain, Shakespeare in Love. The response was overwhelmingly that I should at least check on each of those movies and run another poll for each film to see if it was worth watching. If not, yes, just watch the classic films, Matthew. So I'm going to start doing that. There's a couple of them in this week. So classic movies that I wasn't sure about, and there's some mixed results so far. I think I am actually enjoying having watched them at least, so that I can talk about them in full knowledge about it, whether I enjoyed it or not, but at least I now know my feelings on that thing. So this week, we are talking Blade Runner 2049, Sheikh Jackson, Looper, All the President's Men, The Sound of Music, The Perks of Being a Wallflower, Hunt for Wilder People, Kinky Boots, Sunset Boulevard, and The Godfather Part 2. Blade Runner 2049, I've not been coy in the past. I'm not a fan of Blade Runner. I don't really enjoy it. It is science fiction, which I generally like, but it's not science fiction made for me. I think it's pretty dull, and it doesn't do its exploration as well as it should. I wasn't sure about the sequel in the same way, and it was as expected. It is slow, it's quite pretentious. It tries to do a lot of stuff that it doesn't in the first film, but the problem is it doesn't really expand on it. So we're in a film where we're in a world where the first film exists, and there have been things like Star Trek and other things doing some of this exploration and discussion in better detail, and just generally better. So I've watched it at least now. Sheikh Jackson, a really strange film, Egyptian film about a man who's obsessed with Michael Jackson and has to deal with his death and his own past. Some of the movements were good fun, but I don't really get why it was made. I don't know if that's a good way to explain it. The end seemed to maintain the status quo. It didn't move the character on, despite him sort of dealing with stuff from his past. So it was a bit strange. Looper, we're covering on Pop Culture Deprived soon, so you can hear me gush about how much I like the film on that. I think the film deserves a higher budget for some of the action and another writer going through it, because some of the exposition's a bit clunky, some of the plot development is not as nuanced as it could be, but overall, it's a great film. It's worth watching. All the President's Men is a classic film that I felt I should watch. So not on that list that I didn't think I was going to enjoy. I did enjoy it. I can see that it would have been an absolutely great film for about 10 years after it came out. One of the things I found with some of these older films is that they are very much of their time, or they've been surpassed by another film in the meantime. So whilst the film is really tense, it's really interesting, there's a lot of reliance on your understanding the events at the time. And I think films like Spotlight have done the story better, and have improved the thing about whether you know what those events were or not to make them a bit more timeless. The Sound of Music, as I said, a classic film that I always felt I should watch, but I didn't think I was going to enjoy. I enjoyed it more than I expected to, surprisingly. It's too long. There's a chunk of content in this that could be lost. I think everything with the Baroness could be thrown out, but Julie Andrews is awesome throughout the film, so she absolutely makes it better. The Perks of Being a Wallflower, I read the book on honeymoon and I enjoyed the book immensely. I was surprised by how much I enjoyed that book. The film is not a good adaptation. There is a lot left out of the core story that makes the film stronger, that makes the story stronger. And being detached from the protagonist's point of view, the way he views his friends, actually shows them up for being a bit pretentious and awful people. Hunt for Wilder People is my continuing to check out the earlier movies of Taika Waititi. This is significantly better than Eagle vs. Shark. It lost its way a little in the middle. I feel it drifts a bit a couple of times, but the performances, the characters, the interplay between them, they carry this film. They were really engaging and really enjoyable. Kinky Boots we saw on stage a few months ago, so we wanted to watch the film, having never seen it. I'm really, really pleased it popped up on Amazon Prime. It's a really good story. I was struck by how much the film felt like it should be a musical. There was a lot in there that felt like, oh, this actually needs a musical turn to keep the interest going. Probably more so than the straight comedy dramas suited it. I'd say it's one for everyone to check out. It was quite good fun. Sunset Boulevard is a film like Citizen Kane, a classic that I hadn't seen that I felt I should see, but that I knew a lot about. I knew a lot of this film before I saw it. I am, however, like Citizen Kane, really pleased that I've seen it. It's a wonderful film. It really does deliver. There's a lot of it that is a pop culture reference now, but when you actually see it in the film, seeing it delivered in context, it really is something that the film is excellent and superbly done. The Godfather Part 2 is another one we're covering on Pop Culture Deprived, since Mandy liked the first one so much. It's one of my favourite film series, and the movie can be hard work at times, but it's really rewarding to when you get through the whole thing and you see what it was doing, what the structure was, what the story was doing, and you go, oh, that's really good. That is unlike pretty much any other film you'd ever see. So, great film. My recommendation for this week is really hard to choose because I love The Godfather Part 2. It is a wonderful film, and I think Sunset Boulevard was as good. But they're both really, really well known. I think because it was new to me, I have to recommend Sunset Boulevard. There's a quiet tension throughout the film. It just absolutely permeates the story and the performances and makes it all a bit sinister. The characters, the mise-en-scene really helps the sort of stark black and whiteness that's going on and the amount of just frippery that's on display in this woman's house. It adds to that feeling of how sinister it is throughout, but the film still manages to make Norma Desmond a sympathetic character, so it does some really good work throughout that film. Next week, some great films that I've been watching. I watched Star Trek: The Motion Picture, so that will be fun to discuss on a podcast coming up. And we've had a good range of classic films actually now suddenly available, so I've been watching some stuff that I feel I should see. So look out for my feelings on them when they come out next week. See you then.